Morning, Ralph. Okay, we are on 40B2. Um, the last thing we spoke about yesterday, if a person does not treat the Shemitah properly, he does business during the Shemitah year, he does business, even though business is a lesser sin than other sins of Shemitah, and yet, nevertheless, we see the great, good morning, Mr. Haber, how the Torah is very particular about how, the punishment for a person who does business with the fruits of Shemitah. That's what the Gemara said, that one opinion in the Gemara, Rabbi Yochanan, is the connection to Yovel. Torah connects Yovel, which we said Yovel and Shemitah are the Jubilee year. They're both similar. That the restrictions on produce that grew during that year are the same, and the Torah connects the Yovel year to a sale, indicating that if you don't treat Yovel properly, you're going to have to sell your property. If you don't treat it properly, meaning if you go ahead and you do business during the Yovel season, or meaning during Shemitah as well, then you will have to sell out, sell your property, sell your other things. That will be the punishment that Hashem will give to the person. Meaning, it's not by chance. What obviously, we say Hakol b'dei Shemayim, Chutz me'ir Shemayim. Morning, Jaime.
Morning, Rabbi.
A person's parnasah is decreed by Hashem. Besuvulu Rosh Hashanah. Rosh Hashanah, Hashem decides. There's a judgment. What's going to be the parnasah for the year? And like we said, Miye Ani and Miye Asher. We say on the Rosh Hashanah Yom Kippur, who's going to become poor, who's going to become rich? That's the hand of heaven. So the fact that this person is going to start selling out, and he's selling out his properties, he's downsizing, and then he's starting to sell out to raise money, and eventually maybe he will even go so low to have to sell his daughter, and eventually maybe to sell himself as a slave. That is not by chance that the person had that financial difficulty. Obviously, it was decreed by heaven, and it was decreed for his benefit that we should wake up and do tshuva. And if he would have, if he would have done tshuva, so then he would not have to have gone through all that sale of property and downsizing. Listen, Hashem has his reasons why he makes this person wealthy, person rich, but sometimes the Gemara says telling us that what happened, that he was doing so well all these years, and now he had to go ahead and sell out, is because that Hashem, this particular situation. Now, sometimes Hashem is just challenging whatever the reasons Hashem is doing it, but here the Gemara is connecting the dots and saying here the particular reason is because he wasn't keeping the laws of Shemitah properly, and he was trying to gain financially in a way that he was not supposed to gain. So Hashem took away his finances. His finances. That's what the Gemara says, that the Torah is connecting the dots. And like I said yesterday, if a person does not keep Shemitah properly, he receive the serious serious punishment, his financial loss. So imagine if a person does keep the Shemitah properly, he treats he treats his money the way he's supposed to treat the money. He doesn't do the business with Shemitah produce, then he should be blessed financially with great financial blessing. That's what I would say. So now, with that being said, we're now on 40B2 on the bottom of the first column. Rabbi Loza, Hai Krod Rabbi Yochanan, my Ovidle. What does he do with this pasuk of Rabbi Yochanan? Rabbi Yochanan yesterday brought a pasuk, meaning we had a machlokas. We're becoming experts in Shemitah produce. What can you do with Shemitah produce? Can you you have the ability, if you sell Shemitah produce, something that grew during the Shemitah, we said the money becomes sanctified. The money that the seller received for the Shemitah produce has to be treated like the Shemitah produce itself. And we had a whole discussion, can you sanctify money by saying, I want the Shemitah produce to, the holiness of the Shemitah produce to go onto the money. Same way you could go ahead and redeem something that belongs to Hegdish onto money. So can I do that with Shemitah produce? Say I want the sanctity of this Shemitah produce, etrog, that grew during the Shemitah. I want it to go on, the value of that is $50. I want it to go on $50, the sanctity of that Shemitah produce to go on this $50. Would that $50 now have that sanctity as the fruits itself or not? We said if I sold the etrog, then the money that I receive for the etrog will have the sanctity of the etrog itself. We'll have limited use for that money. I can't buy a coat with that money. But would that same law apply to money that I didn't receive as a result of the sale? It was just I wanted to redeem the fruits onto this money. So that was the question of the Gemara. So Rabbi Yochanan brought a pasuk. Rabbi Yochanan says when the Torah connects Yovel to Kodesh, the pasuk says Ki Yovel Ki Kodesh. It says Yovel is Kodesh. It's the comparison to Hegdesh. Hegdish, when you redeem one of the ways of creating sanctity on something else, something that's Hegdish, I can redeem it. I can redeem it in the privacy of my own home. I don't have to sell the Hegdish property in order for that money that was received for the Hegdish property to become holy. I could go ahead and just redeem it in the privacy of my own home and say, I want to redeem this Hegdish property on my money that's in my $100 in my hand, in my pocket, and that money becomes holy. So we see you could this in the fact that the Torah connects Yovel to Hegdish, uses the word Kodesh by Yovel. So Rabbi Yochanan says that teaches us that Yovel, Shemitah, Yovel's the Jubilee year, Shemitah, they both have similar laws. You can't work the field, you can't. So that is just like Hegdesh, but just like Hegdesh, so therefore you could redeem the holiness onto money. So that was Rabbi Yochanan's reasoning. He brought a pasuk. So the Gemara said, Rabbi Loza, what does he do with that pasuk? That pasuk seems to say you could place the holiness onto money, not just through as a result of a sale. Is that clear, Adam? Okay. The Gemara says, he needs it for the following braita. Ki yovel hi kodesh. Is everything clear, by the way? I mean, there's a lot going on. Everything clear? The question on the table is, let's make it clear. Can I take Shemitah produce that has the sanctity of Shemitah and just say, I want to redeem it onto money that's in my pocket? Does that work to make the money in my pocket holy? Or the only way my money in my pocket is holy through the Shemitah produce, only way I can get that holy, if I sell Shemitah produce, I receive money in return, that money becomes holy. But not holy like the Shemitah, like this, and only can be used like the Shemitah produce. But not to just to say I want the money in my pocket to be holy. I'm going to take the value of the Shemitah produce and say I'm putting it on the money in my pocket. That might not do the trick. That might not make it holy. That's the question. That's the whole question about Gemara, and that's what the morning Simon. The back and forth of the Gemara is whether this is true, that I have the ability to transfer the holiness of the Shemitah produce onto money that's in my pocket. How does he accomplish it? He says these fruits. Rashi said these fruits should be consecrated on this money. I want the fruits, this etrog produce, to become the holiness of that on this $50 etrog, on the $50 that's in my pocket. Would the $50 in my pocket become holy? That's a statement. So that's what he wants to be done. Now, a lot of times people want to do something, but it doesn't mean you accomplish. It doesn't mean you're successful, right? The guy says, I want to marry this woman. I want you to marry me. She says yes, but he doesn't give her anything. So you didn't get married to her. You didn't accomplish. She said, marry me with the statement that I'm saying I want you to marry me. And she says, yes, I want to marry you. Are they married? No. Right, Adam? They got to give the woman something. The fact that she says she wants to marry you with the statement, you say you want to marry with the statement, but that doesn't do the trick. There's more to be done than just saying, I want to marry you. And she says, yes, yes, let's be married. That doesn't do it. You have to give her something or whatever, a star. There's other things that have to be done. It's not enough. You can't marry just with a woman by saying, just everyone say, yes, we want to get married. That doesn't do the trick. There's certain things that have to be done. So how does he accomplish this? So the Mishnah stated that if you sell an etrog if you sell an etrog of Shemitah produce, the money that you receive for it would become holy. That's how you could accomplish a transfer. What? No declaration, no nothing. You sold it, you went to the market, or I went to Mr. Haber, he has an etrog tree in his backyard in Israel, and Mr. Haber, he sold me the etrog for $10, for $50. Mr. Haber, I received the etrog is still holy, but it grew during the Shemitah. Mr. Haber received $50 as the payment for the etrog. That $50, Mr. Haber, you have limited use for that money. You can't put it in your bank account in your savings. You can't go buy clothing with it. You are limited use. You have the same use I could use. I have to use it up during the Shemitah year. Whatever use I have for whatever the laws of Shemitah produce goes onto that money. You attend. It's automatic. It's automatic. Any sale of Shemitah produce goes onto the money that was received as a result of that Shemitah produce that was sold. But now the question is, it works if I sell the Shemitah produce. What if I don't sell it? I just say I want the Shemitah produce, the holiness to go on the money in my pocket. Would that also transfer the holiness? Or you need more than that? That's the question. Yes, Ralph. That's your question. That is the question in the Gemara. What has to be done to transfer the holiness of the Shemitah produce that the other item will become holy as well? Is it just through a sale, Monimars? Or is it also even just redeeming it, which is much less intense? It's not that you have to go, you have to have another person involved. You could do it on your own. So that is the, once you etrog, you have to, even if you sold, you have to use the etrog in the permitted fashion of Shemitah laws, the Shemitah produce. The fashion is you can't use the etrog in a way that you have to eat the etrog or use it in a normal, you can't use the etrog in a way that that's not an eating for food purposes. That might be one limitation. You use the etrog by eating the etrog. Eating the etrog. So it would seem you would be able to, yes, you can use it for the lulav. That's what the Gemara says. You could use it with the lulav. You could use the etrog, it's not a problem. Ideally, let him gift you the etrog, and you could use it. That use is not, you're not when by taking it for the mitzvah would not be a problem.
He owns it and he's giving money on.
Etrog, exactly. That's what we're going to see in the Gemara. Right. Like, we're going to see in the Gemara, the etrog always remain holy. Any fruit that grew during the Shemitah year, you cannot remove that holiness. So the Gemara says, and that's what the Gemara says like this. Rabbi Loza, hi krod, good morning, Mark. Rabbi Loza, hi krod, morning. Hi krod, Rabbi Yochanan, my overlay. What does he do with that pasuk of Rabbi Yochanan? So he said, I need that pasuk for something else. The comparison to Hegdesh is for the following. I need the comparison to Hegdesh only not to tell me it's like Hegdesh that you can redeem it onto the money, the holiness. No. The comparison to Hegdish is in a different law of Hegdish. What's the other law of Hegdish? The Torah says, Yovel, the Jubilee year 50, after 7 cycles of Shemitah, after year 49, which is Shemitah, the year 50th year is Yovel. And it has similar halachot to Shemitah. Ki Yovel hi Kodesh. Ma Kodesh Tofes es Damav, just like Hegdish. If you sell the Hegdish property, the money that's received for the Hegdish property becomes holy. So too, this chidush, this novel idea that if you take Shemitah produce, it grew during Shemitah. The money didn't grow during Shemitah. The money doesn't grow on the tree. The etrog grows on the tree. Right? You like that line, Mr. Haber? The money didn't grow during the tree. I don't know. I wonder. The money didn't grow on the tree, and yet the money didn't grow on the tree. Yet you could make that money as if it grew on the tree during Shemitah. You could affect holiness on that money through the sale of the etrog that grew during Shemitah. The money is as if it grew on the tree during the Shemitah. It has this test, but not completely, because only that money would become holy. We're going to see if you take that money and you transfer it to something else, then that money could be not holy anymore. Because the Shemitah produce would always remain holy. Whatever you do with it, level 1, 2, 3, 4, and it doesn't matter how many movements around of that etrog went from by a 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you bought with that etrog, it doesn't make it, it's always going to remain holy. But that's the chidush. The chidush is that the sanctity of Shemitah is not only limited to the Shemitah produce, it actually goes on the money that was received as a result of the sale of Shemitah produce. That's a big chidush. You learn the pasuk. The pasuk is talking about the produce of Shemitah. Who's talking about the money of Shemitah? The money that was received for the produce. Now we say there's all these laws about the money that was received for the produce. Where did that law come from? What's the source for that law? That's this pasuk. The source is the pasuk that connects Yovel Shemitah to Hekdesh. And Hekdesh has this phenomenon. If I made this Hekdesh, now this belongs to Hekdesh. If Hekdesh sells this to Mr. Haber, so now the money that Mr. Haber gives for that Hekdesh item, now that money becomes holy. And this item is no longer holy anymore. It's similar to being redeemed. It's no longer holy. Now Mr. Haber could use it, but now the money that was received for it, now that money becomes holy. So the same way that money that was received for that sale, is that correct, Morris? For the Hekdesh item becomes holy. So too the money that was received for etro of Shemitah is not Hekdesh. Shemitah is not that it belonged to the Beis Hamikdash, but that's what the Torah, by comparing Shemitah, Yovel to Hekdesh, is telling us, is equating in that way that Shemitah produce is similar to whatever happens by Hekdesh. When you sell Hekdesh items, it's the same law that you sell Shemitah items. What is the law when you sell Hekdesh item? The money that's received in exchange for the Hekdesh item. I sold this Hekdesh item, the money, the $5 that was received is holy. So too, I sell Shemitah produce, the $50 that I got for the etrog, that $50 is what? Is holy, like the Shemitah produce itself. That seems to be the main things. We have to see if there are other types, but the main thing seems to be food and oil, which we said those are items that the consumption and the benefit are happening at the same time. So the Gemara says, Tanya kavotei de Rabbi Elazar, Tanya kavotei de Rabbi Yochanan. We learned in a Braita like Rabbi Elazar, and we learned in a Braita, we're now on 40b2 on the right side. We have Braitas that one Braita supports Rabbi Yochanan's opinion, and one Braita supports Rabbi Elazar's opinion. Remember, Rabbi Yochanan and Rabbi Elazar are later rabbis. They're rabbis of the Gemara, they're not rabbis of the Mishnah. So they're in a different period. And if we could find an early rabbi to support one, then he should be the winner. If you got an early Tana that supports the later rabbi, that rabbi who had to support the early rabbi of the early Tana would be the winner. However, here the Gemara says at this point we have an early rabbi supporting each one's opinion. One early rabbi supports Rabbi Yochanan's opinion, and one early rabbi supports Rabbi Elazar's opinion. So they're equal in strength. So far, the argument at this point is equal in strength because no one has a stronger support than the other. Each one has a support from a different early rabbi. And that's what the Gemara now is going to see. When the Gemara has a question, an argument of later rabbis, they look into precedents from the early rabbis to see what the early rabbis said. And we're going to go with the early rabbis over the later rabbi. If the later rabbis argue, if one rabbi is arguing an early rabbi, so the one who's agreeing with the early rabbi would be the winner. So here we say, Tanya kavotei Rabbi Elazar, Shvi'it tofeset et omer. Shemitah takes hold of its value, of the money that was received for the Shemitah item becomes holy. Now, as I said, Shenema, what's the source that the Shemitah, that the money should become holy? Professor Domer, Shenema, Yovel, He Kodesh Tiyelachem. The Torah refers to the things that grew during Yovel, and we said whatever grows during Yovel, the law is the same for Shemitah. The Shemitah laws and the Yovel laws are the same regarding those things. And it calls it Kodesh. Ma Kodesh Tofes et Mav Asur. Just like Hegdesh, the money that was received for the sale of Hegdesh would be the money that was when it was redeemed. The money would become holy. Afshvid Tofeset Edomer Vasura. Shemitah also, the money that was received in exchange for the produce would also be forbidden. And now the Gemara says what Mark spoke about yesterday. Ma Kodesh Tofet Damaviyote Lechulein. Kodesh, when you go ahead and you redeem Hegdesh. What happens when you redeem Hegdesh? The Hegdesh item becomes permitted for personal use. If I redeem this hand sanitizer that was Hegdesh, then I could use it for personal use. Until I redeem it, it's forbidden for personal use. It belongs to Hegdesh. It's not mine. It's holy. When I redeem it onto $5, now the money becomes holy and the item becomes permitted for me to use. I can use it for personal use. It was a great sin to use this hand sanitizer for personal use before I redeemed it. Right, Simon? Because it belongs to Hegdesh. Once I redeemed it, I put it on, holiness went onto the money, but now the money belongs to Hegdesh, and now the hand sanitizer I can use for myself. It sounds like from Rashi, I just say I want the holiness of this should go on to that. It's a declaration. It's a declaration. You make a declaration. So just like so too. So ima kodesh tov and versus chulin. So Rashi, that's a good question. I mean, it sounds like you have to say it. You can't just think it, but you could say it to yourself. That's what it sounds like. You say it, but you make a declaration. But again, we'd have to look at the laws exactly and how it's done properly. I mean, I'll tell you, Mr. Haber, the way Rashi states it, it sounds like you just say these items should become, the holiness should be deconsecrated. It should be deconsecrated onto the money. That seems the language that Rashi uses. So the Gemara says, so you might have said, this holy item, once it was redeemed, if now no longer is holy, you might think the Shemitah the same thing. You might have thought that the Shemitah produce, the etrog that grew during Shemitah, once I sell the etrog, you might think now the etrog is no longer holy. It's deconsecrated. Morning, James. Good to see you. Welcome back. You might think it's deconsecrated. Just like if I take Shemitah produce, if I go ahead and something that's Hegdesh, something that was that was given as a gift to the Beit HaMikdash. If I go ahead and I sell it, now this belongs to Hegdesh, $5. Now we're going to sell it. So what happens is the money now becomes Hegdesh, and now the item that was sold on the market is permitted to everybody. It's no longer holy. So I might have thought if I take the Shemitah produce, right, James, an etrog grew during Shemitah, and now I go ahead and I sold the etrog. I might have thought that now the money that was received is holy, but the etrog is no longer holy. That's what I would have thought, because there was a change. So Talmud Loma, therefore the pasuk says Tihiyeh. Yovel hi kodesh Tihiyeh. Tihiyeh means it shall be. That means yes, Mark. Mark, you wanted to say something?
No, I'm sorry.
Yovel hi tiyeh kodesh. Tiyeh means it shall be. It should always be. That word, the extra word tihiyeh, b'haviyata tehei. That means it always remains in its holiness. So that's what the Gemara is saying. The word tihiyeh, that it shall be. What is the pasuk saying? It shall be. That means this item, this produce that grew during Shemitah, will always remain holy. You cannot do anything to remove the holiness of Shemitah produce. Good morning, Mark. You could go ahead and remove the holiness of something that was designated, consecrated to the Beit HaMikdash. You give a gift to the Beit HaMikdash. I gave hand sanitizer to the Beit HaMikdash. I can remove the holiness of the hand sanitizer. How? I sold it. We sold it to the market. We got the money for it. The money becomes holy. Now the Hegdish will put it into its account to go ahead and be used to fix up the Beit HaMikdash. If to hire people to fix up, fine, that money is holy. But then the sand sanitizer is no longer holy. But when it comes to Shemitah produce, I cannot remove the holiness. It always remain holy, even if I sell it, because the pasuk says tihiyeh haketza. Now the Gemara illustrates. Yes, Mark.
So we're doing something where we take.
If you want to talk louder, so Jaime can hear you.
The whole is off. You're doing that for a reason, to go take, so you don't have to carry everything.
Right.
Whatever. You're accomplishing something.
Right.
Over here, can I take the holiness from Shmita and put it on gold? Like money? Yeah.
So if you could do it if you sold the Shemitah produce and you sold it in exchange for gold. If he paid me in gold for the Shemitah produce, the gold will now be holy. You're redeeming it. So that is the question of the Gemara. That's the exact question of the Gemara. Can I do that?
This is Shmita. Okay, so now we say, okay, this, I'm gonna put this and make this holy.
Right. So again, right, what do you? So we said yesterday. Very good. We gave one approach yesterday, which has to be more research. We gave an approach yesterday that we find the precedent. Good morning, Boaz. Like sometimes a person might think he could remove the holiness of the item.
No.
If he's meaning again, what about if you say, Mark, why don't we learn Pshat that the same way the Torah says, if you have an animal that was consecrated for a korban, Morris said, I want to make this animal holy, and if a person says, I want to remove the holiness, I try to do it, it doesn't help. So maybe the person tried to do it, the way I would say, maybe the person, he thought he wanted to remove the holiness of the. That was the one approach, and maybe the second approach might be a better approach. Maybe we'll have to figure out a third approach. But I'm just trying to answer your question. Maybe we have to talk to more people about it, how to deal with Mark's question. But maybe the second approach we said yesterday. Okay, we have to research Mark's question. I gave two approaches. I came up with two approaches to answer Mark's question. Maybe there's a better answer. Maybe there's a third approach. But the second approach, I think Mark is the whole day he's thinking about it. That's what he's supposed to be doing. Thinking about the Gemara. He's walking in the streets. He's doing between business deals. He's thinking about. Right. So the question is, but the second approach might be a better approach. That he really thought that he could. You know what he thinks? The same, right? Because I could do it for Hegdish. I could take this holiness. If I made this, if someone said this is Hegdish, if he said this is Hegdish, and then he decides he wants it for personal, and now he can't use it anymore. But his hands are chapped, right? And now he needs to use it for personal use. So he says, I want to redeem it from Hegdish. He could do it. And then use personal. So he thinks I can do the same thing with Shemitah. Shemitah produce is holy.
That's the same way you can buy it from an uneducated person, and you talk about an uneducated person, you're trying to take it off.
A person, right here, we're an uneducated person. He doesn't know the law, and and there is an opinion, right? He doesn't know the law. He doesn't know the law. Just like the Torah talks about the guy. The Torah talks about the guy who says, I have an animal. I have an animal that's not such I consecrated an animal, and you know what? He said, I have even a better animal. And he thinks I want to, and whatever, even if the same type of animal, for some reason he wants to remove the holiness of one animal to another animal. So you call that the uneducated Jew. He thinks he could do it, and yet the Torah says you can't do it. Right. It's what?
No.
Not holy.
It's not straight.
You
What are
can-
they doing?
What do you mean? But you did something. You made a declaration, say, but you didn't say anything, right?
The second relate.
It's not holy yet. Is it holy? Whatever. You make a statement of holy, of that you're consecrating it.
Or what? Of the item, of the piece of fruit, from nothing to something, by saying this, picking it up, saying, and we accomplish something, and we.
You're talking about every day, like every day, every day. No, no.
Is that a method by which I make it holy?
It's a similar method. It's not much has to be done. It's a very, the same way Mr. Haber is saying, if you go ahead and you go ahead and you take a fruit and you say a bracha. So now I don't know that I don't think you made the fruit holy when you said the bracha. When you say a bracha, you're making yourself holy. But every mitzvah you do, Asher Kiddishanu b'mitzvotav, you become holy as a result of the mitzvah. You're not making the fruit holy when you say a bracha on the fruit. You're elevating, maybe you're saying you're elevating the fruit to a certain thing, that the fruit is being used in a very holy fashion. So you're elevating the fruit in a certain sense, but if you pick a mundane thing and you're elevating it through your bracha. But here you're actually making the fruit, when you consecrate it, when you dedicate the hegdish, you're actually changing the status of the fruit. The fruit was a moment ago, it was mundane. It was a mundane fruit with no limitation. Yeah, but the bracha is, but the bracha.
Your fruit. Fruit still, you could throw it, you could eat it, it could be rotten, and not eat it. So the fruit didn't become anything different than it was. Your act, you bless the act. The other one, you're doing it on the item.
Right, and maybe there's also a difference. Maybe in Hashem's book up in heaven and down here, there's different how that fruit is looked at. You know, when you go ahead and just like Abraham, when Abraham bought the property from Ephron for Sarah, it says there was an elevation of the property, but that when it enters into holy person like Abraham's domain, it's elevation. So you elevate it, it's a higher status, it's a different level. That's what happens to the fruit. When you make a declaration on a mundane item, and you, so if this sanitizer would belong to me, and I say I want this sanitizer to be holy to Hegdesh, I want to donate this now to Hegdesh. Now that statement, there's a power of statement. The statement has the ability to transfer this thing from belonging to me now with that statement, it now enters. Welcome, Daniel. We entered Hegdesh. It now belongs. There's a transfer through my word. I can do this. So that's the question. That's the $1 million question. Can I do that? Which not take it off, but can I actually transfer? Right. What? And exactly. That's the question.
My produce is
Your Shemitah produce, not you're talking about Shemitah produce.
Shemitah produce is whole. You know what? I want to make my money holy, so say my money's down.
Exactly.
Not only that, whole room, everything in the room is gonna be holy, because I love making things holy. So I'm making my whole room holy, my whole house holy.
And
I can't do anything.
And then you're gonna have to eat. You're gonna have to eat a lot as a result of that, and make a lot of fire because you're gonna be limited what use you could do with it.
Yeah, my point though.
Yeah, right again, right. So right. Yes, right.
So by virtue, Satan, does that accomplish everything you want?
So that is the question of the Gemara. Does this, when it comes to Hegdesh, statement accomplishes? Statement accomplishes. We know about Ma'aser Sheni. If too many fruits to carry to Yerushalayim, you make a statement. You have the money in front of you. I want the holiness of the fruits to go onto the money. That's it. There's nothing more you need to do. It's done deal. The question is, can I do that with Shemitah produce as well? Can I make that statement? What am I accomplishing? So the second approach was, I thought that I could remove the holiness from the fruit onto the money, and I want to consecrate the money, and I thought I wanted the holiness to go onto the money, and I thought maybe that the Shemitah produce would now be personal use, and I could do whatever I want, unlimited. That's the chiddush. I can't. So that's what the Gemara actually makes a pasuk. No, it's still, but maybe I still accomplish the same thing. Remember, no, it's still the same way with the animal. Morning, David. The same way with the animal that's hegdesh. I have an animal, a nice hegdesh animal, and I say I want to put it onto another animal. I want to exchange it onto another animal. You know what happens if I do that? It remains holy, and the other thing becomes holy. Now both becomes holy. The Pasuk says. You like that, okay? I got it. If Mark likes it, I'm all right. If he doesn't like it, then I'm in trouble, right? So that's the example. I tried, didn't help. And you know what? Yet it took effect on the other item, and this item remained the way it is. So the Gemara says like this. Now listen to the case of the Gemara. Haketzad. Lokach with perishvit basa. I went ahead. I had fruit for Shemitah that grew on my property. And I went and I bought meat with that fruit. I could buy meat with that fruit. I went and I bought some meat. I bought food purposes, meat. Now what happens when I take the Shemitah, I bought meat, and you know what happens? The Shemitah produce remains holy because it doesn't leave that holiness. And the meat now also becomes holy. Because the meat, whatever was bought with the Shemitah produce, the money that was received, or the meat that was received, the meat is in lieu of money, right? It's just like money, right? You can get money as a result of the sale, or instead of we're doing barter, whatever you want to call it, I'm getting meat as the payment. Eat it, it's fine, right? I can eat it, the meat, but I need that meat is only going to be able to use for Shemitah purposes. I have to make sure to eat the meat. I can't freeze it to after Shemitah. Can't put it in the freezer. I got to use it up during the laws of Shemitah. Will go on to that meat that was received for my. I sold my etrog and I got meat as a result of it. I can eat it tomorrow. I have to eat it during the Shemitah, and whatever laws apply to Shemitah will apply to that meat. I could do that. I could do that, but I have to eat it during this year. I have a limited time. There's certain laws, but I got to do with Shemitah. I can't freeze Shemitah produce and leave it for. I got to eat it up. There's a certain time it has to be eaten by. Now, what happens? I took the meat and I bought fruit with the meat because you know what? I decided I'm watching my diet. I'm not having meat today. I'm going to have fruit. I bought some fruit. It's healthier fruit. Now, what happens now? The fruit becomes holy, and now the meat is no longer holy. Now I can put it to the freezer. Now I can put the meat in the freezer because now this is already, I transferred I originally transferred the holiness onto the meat. But now now that I sold the meat, the only thing that's going to remain holy, well, there's going to be two items that are going to remain holy. The last item that was bought, Mark, get ready. You may think it is, but it's not. Right, very good.
So
Because,
if I do 7, 10 times,
the last thing will be holy.
That's
That's it. Exactly. Because why is that? Because the pasuk said that the first thing tihiyah, the Shemitah, good morning, Gary. The Shemitah produce will always remain holy. That we have a pasuk. So that you can't touch. That thing that grew, that fruit that grew in the Shemitah, during that Shemitah year, David, you had a field, you left the doors open, you left the gates open, right? And have a great day. And it grew, it's holy. That produce always will remain holy. You can't do anything to remove the holiness. Right, an animal, no, which animal? The animal called Hegdish or not Hegdish?
No, this animal, he said, okay, I'm gonna get a better animal.
But that animal will always remain holy unless
Now,
it
the
gets,
second to the third.
what's the, okay,
If I
what's
take
the,
the second animal, I say, you know what? I don't want this to be a dish anymore, I want to bring a third animal.
I want to transfer it to there.
With all three. Holy,
I-
or the middle one's
We have to look, there's a tractate called Tamura. There's a whole Masechta in Shas that deals with this subject of transferring,
the better one.
okay, but we again, so we say it like this, when it comes to
The
Heg,
first one you can't do.
right, the first one, right, but we said by
Change
Hegdish,
it to the meat stuff.
the meat is stuff, but
If I'm gonna take the meat and change it to vegetables.
the vegetables will be,
And the meat, I could sell the meat, and I could go.
so much meat to produce, yes, yeah, do whatever you want with it. Right, right, I understand what you want to know what's the score by an animal, by a korban. The same thing, do we say, right, because I would say, Mark, what I would say, Mark, I would say off the cuff, I would just say like this. Remember, the animal, we're talking about hekdesh. It's a different story. It's hekdesh. Here we're talking about fruits of Shemitah. It's a different story. And here we're saying there's a special Torah pasuk to tell you that the first fruit remains holy. And there's another pasuk that says that when you transfer that holiness to something else, that item also becomes holy. But there's no pasuk for in between. But we don't have any pasuk telling us that all the middlemen remain holy. We only have a pasuk that tells us that the first remains first, and the thing that was transferred. That's the only thing we got. The Hegdish, it could be Hegdish, it could be we got everything. Once it's holy, once the Hegdish, I don't know that you could say what should be the difference between this Hegdish and that Hegdish. Because it could be there's a by Shemitah produce, it might be a different story based on these psukim. Okay, I don't want anyone to be late for davening. I want to wish everyone a beautiful day. It's unbelievable the involvement of on this Gemara. I want to tell you, you know, what? Chas v'shalom. You're done with the Yetzer Hara. So learning